Hello, my name is Craig Rainey, and I've been in the construction industry for more than 40 years. When homeowners tell me the story of their project, oftentimes it sounds like this. It doesn't have to be that way.
Oh, wise guy, eh?
And most builders would say that. Welcome to Remodeling Wisdom. I'm Craig Rainey. Let's get started. Happy 2023, y'all. It's it's been 12 days into the year, and I have still not done my first podcast. I've got a little bit of, a little bit of an excuse. Just got back from Canada with my wife, and what a beautiful country. And it's funny because I live in Austin, and when we left, it was about 72 degrees and overcast. And anyway, so we got to Canada and got to Vancouver, and it was raining and about, 48, 50 degrees, something like that. And then we headed over to the Naramata, Penticton area, and some snow had fallen. They had a good amount falling there, but we were still above freezing for most of that during the day, and then it would drop down at night. And then we went up into the mountains. We hit Apex, which, if you all know anything about the ski mountains up there, man, it's beautiful. And then Apex was having a blizzard up there. Anyway, so of course, being married to a Canadian, I've got all the gear I will ever need: base layer, parkas, snow boots, and gloves, and that kind of thing. But anyway, so we left there, drove back through what's it called? Princeton Hope Highway. We went that way, and then we went over the passes going the other way. But I don't know if y'all remember this or not, but Rambo First Blood was filmed in Hope, British Columbia. And I've been there a couple different times, and I was there this time, and there was a lady there, and she runs the I guess it's a curio store, but it's a souvenir shop, and a lot of it deals with the Rambo movie, which was filmed, I believe, in 82, 83, was filmed there. And it turns out she doesn't really like Sylvester Stallone very much. And back in the day, I think her dad ran what she said is her dad ran a guide, a hunting guide service. And I don't think that Sly was very amenable. And I'm hoping it's because he was in character, because I've always been a fan of the movie. But it's funny being there and looking at the buildings. And in fact, I came back and I watched it. I watched it last night. And it was funny because the Civic Center, which is right there in a little park, that was the police station. And then across the way, I think there was some kind of hardware store, but now it's the Blue Moose coffee shop, and then there's also that curio store next to it. But it was pretty interesting, and where Rambo jumped his motorcycle, and then Brian Dennehy, I forget his last name, he jumped his car over there. That obviously stuntmen did it, but we drove over the railroads. It was really cool to see that. But that was filmed in Hope, BC. But we went through the Princeton Hope highway, which goes through Manning Park, and just beautiful mountains. And from this Texas boy, I see something like that, it's like, wow, that's great. Of course, Vancouver, I think, is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, as far as I'm concerned. But we came back through the passes, and it's a good thing we had snow tires and all-wheel drive, because it was snowing. And then we came back down into Vancouver, and it was more temperate. I think it was in the upper 40s, lower 50s, and raining. And then we landed in Austin. It was 82 degrees and sunny. So I'm still going through a little bit of culture shock. But to make a long story short, it's taken me a little while to get into the swing of things, so I appreciate you waiting. Several things that happened while I was gone, and I really appreciate it, is we got some great emails. And I want to thank Jason in Port Mansfield here in Texas. Kenshin in Toronto, he had a really good question, and I answered that on email. And then Nolan in Portland, he had one. And in fact, I'm going to use the title of his email for this episode, and I had mentioned to him that I was going to put one together, because I think that this particular subject is something that a lot of homeowners, they wonder, well, and homeowners, I think we as people, we have a lot of respect for others, but, homeowners, they want to show some respect. And Nolan definitely did. He was talking about, he doesn't want to step on toes with the professionals. And he said, well, how much can I do on my own? Either to save money or to add and the biggest part is what I got from his message to me is he really wants to add some, his personal touch to it. So when the project is complete and he has people over or his family are looking at it and he can go, well, I did this part, I did that part, I contributed my creativity to it. And so what we're going to discuss today is how far you can go. And if you want to go further, how you would go about doing that. The biggest thing is without, harming your project or messing with the integrity of it or that kind of thing. And because as I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, remodeling is a very technical business. But let's get into that here in a second. Let me take care of some housekeeping. First off, I, like Nolan, if you want to get a hold of me, please email me at craig@craigraney.com. If you'd like to cyberstalk me, my website is craigraney.com. Also, if you're more of a fan of the written word as opposed to the spoken word, I do have a web magazine, and it's called Remodeling Wisdom, Advice from the Expert, just like the podcast is. And I contribute to that pretty regularly. Again, I'm going to kick back in and get that content going, but kind of getting a slow start. It's the 12th of January, and I don't know, it's in the afternoon. I've got all my projects caught up now, and so I had a chance to get behind the microphone. I really appreciate, and I was going to say, I really appreciate y'all listening. I was looking at the telemetry, and we really have a lot of listeners, and I'm very pleased. The response has been very positive. I've had a couple of messages that disagreed with some of the things, and that's fine. Those are primarily builders, and I can get on builders' nerves. I know I can, because one of the things that I do here is I reveal their secrets, and I reveal that information that they don't want out there, and so it's too bad. It's going to be that way, because I think as homeowners, I'm a homeowner too. We definitely need to defend ourselves against unscrupulous builders, but at the same time, we also need to know what the scrupulous builders are doing, and make sure that at some level we can monitor some of that quality. But anyway, and then finally, I'd like for you to hit the like button. It's fun. It's easy. I do it all the time. Do it with me. Oh yeah. That was easy. Nothing to it. But and we're on every podcast platform, so if there's an opportunity there for you to subscribe or follow us, do that. Not all of them make that radio button available, but anyway, that's that way you'll know anytime that we have a new podcast that comes out and that kind of thing. But so let's get to it. I've entitled this particular episode, Is There a Place for DIYers Alongside the Professionals? And again, Nolan, thank you. I appreciate that. But so let's talk about that. The building business, as I've mentioned many times, is filled with folks who they do this for a living because it's about all they can do. Now there are others that are not that situation. That are not in that situation. There are others that make the decision. This is what I want to do. And let me share with you my point of view. The remodeling and building business is not something that I imagine myself doing at age 60. I mean, it's just not. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat there. It's not something that I thought that at age 60 I would be doing for a living. I really thought I'd be doing something else. For those of you who know me, I'm a published author, and I'm hoping that that's going to kick in at some point. But really, I never really thought I was going to do it. But I was somebody that, because my great-granddad, my granddad, my dad, they were all in the business I grew up in. And I thought, well, I'm taking over the family business per se. And so I'm doing that. And I made a conscious effort to get into it. And I tried other avenues. I went into telecom and was a technical systems engineer for a while. I was in sales for a very long amount of time. In fact, I'm still in sales. And that's one of my loves is sales. I think that a really good, solid sales skill set helps my clients so much, because I'm able to get down to what they want from me. And being a good, solid salesperson doesn't just mean you get the numbers. I mean, that's going to happen if you're good, but it also means that you're going to avoid selling things to people that they don't need, don't want, and could never benefit from. And that's the integrity of sales is the thing that I focus on. But this is not a sales this is not a sales seminar. But the reason I mention this is because a lot of the times the builder that you select to do your job for you, and let's presume it's a design build firm, for instance, and they do everything. And the reason I say that is, let's just say that, they're A to Z. They do everything that you're going to need, and they're one-stop shop. And there aren't many of those around, by the way. There are a few, but there aren't many. I consider my company a one-stop shop because I actually do, chief architect is my favorite. I do architectural design. I'm not an architect. I'm a designer. But I do architectural design. I do layout. I work with my engineers. I work with all my premium trades to put the project together, make sure that color palette's correct and everything else. And then I run the jobs. And I've got Michael. He's my right-hand man. He helps me boots on the ground because we're getting bigger, and I'm very happy about that. But it gets a little much for one man to run, and so I've got help on that. But anyway, so I do that, and I enjoy building things. I really do. And so let's talk about the builders that maybe this is what they got into because that's what they're able to do. And there are others that fall into this. But the big thing is this. When you run into somebody who, and you hire them, let's be more specific. When you hire this general contractor has a way of doing business that they're accustomed to, that they have modeled for their business model. They've designed it so that their business model flows. And a lot of times those folks are hesitant and a little reluctant to change the way they do things or accept new ideas. It's a human nature thing, but it's also can be a little bit of an insecurity thing. There are a lot to it. Some of the things that any builder is going to let you participate in, and this doesn't really, in my opinion, fall under the DIY, but it does give you input on the creativity side. The design, of course, that's something that if they're doing the design or they've got somebody on staff doing it, those designers are going to listen to you, and they're going to talk to you about how do you plan to occupy the space. Where do you see this? They're going to make sure that you don't build that 20-foot deep by 40-foot long deck because there's just two of you and a couple kids living there. You don't need a resort size outdoor entertaining area. So they're going to keep that going. They're going to make sure that that there's a good traffic flow in your home, which will make it seem larger, and you're not going to have people running through your kitchen with bicycles and stuff when you're out there trying to work. They're going to if you work from home, they're going to make sure that you've got that space. So you've got some isolation. So if you're on a conference call, you don't have the kids playing let's say they're off for Christmas holidays and they're in there watching TV and you're still trying to work, trying to get things done. So these are some things they'll throw in. So they'll, of course, they're going to give you some input on that. Another one is finishes. All of my clients, I provide for them an interior designer. And she is a valued resource. She has worked out a really good deal with my company, and so she offers them a great value for what she brings to the table. And finally, budget. You have the input of the budget. Now, typically, and by that I'm not trying to gloss over that, but if you've got $100,000 and that's what you're going to spend, I'm hoping that your builder has the wisdom and the grasp of the industry to make sure that your design and your finishes and the entire build falls within that budget amount. You don't want to go into one of my clients did where, and this was early on before I did my own design, and they said, well, we're going to get an architect and we'll come back and see you. Now, when they started, their budget was $150,000, and 6 months later, when they came back and brought this full sheaf of blueprints, this was about a $300,000 job. So anyway, I talked to them and they got mad at me and said, well, so it's not important, but a good builder is going to help you avoid that. That's why I'm including the whole basket of features and benefits on this thing for you. But the things that the builders, these remodelers, these general contractors don't want you to participate in is the production itself. And there are two reasons for that. And I believe there are only two. And I'm not including safety in this. That's obvious. I'd rather not have my IT clients who have never held a nail gun. I'd rather them not have one of my Hitachi framing guns and shooting. I don't want them to shoot themselves. Safety is not the issue. Let's talk about the other two. The first one, and this is the relevant one. The first one has to do with how it's going to affect the way the job is done and the price of the job. So it's going to affect the quality of the job, and it's also going to affect the budget on the job. Those are two things that this could affect. Most clients will want to do demo and paint. Those are typically the two that I get all the time. I'd like to do the demo here, and I'd like to do the paint. And the reason for it is because any place you go, HGTV or online or talk to people, they say, yeah, we painted our own house. We did this, we did that. It took us a little longer, but we had a great time. And we put our W's on the wall, with our rollers, and we did all this. And it came out, beautifully. Okay. The other one is demo. Well, we're going to tear all of our flooring out. I've got a client right now that he is in the process of tearing all the laminated veneer material off of his floors. And he's also going to take his cabinets out, and these are the things he says he wants to do. And he told me straight up he wants to do it to save money. I said, okay. Now, those two things, this may come as a surprise. Those two things are highly technical aspects of your project, the demo and the painting. And before you scoff, let me tell you why. Demo on a remodeling project goes on from the beginning to the end. And typically, when a client talks to me about doing demo, they're talking about the aesthetics. For instance, the flooring, taking out the cabinets and sending those off to Habitat or throwing them away or whatever they decide to do. Maybe busting brick off the outside of a wall. If they're going to do it, it's a little heavier and it's a little more dangerous. But typically, it's light demo, and that's what I call this. This is light demo, because on this particular project where one of my clients is doing his own demo, a big part of it is we're about to demo out some large structural beams that span 30 feet, and they're up in the ceiling. They're behind the sheetrock in there, because we're taking out a bearing wall, and we're going to have to span that 30 something feet, 31, 32 feet. And that's not something that a novice can do. I don't have many framers that I use that I would trust with this. I've got one, and I've mentioned him before. He's like a son to me, and he's really, really good. And back when I was a subcontractor, he was one of my guys. He worked for me, and now he has his own business, and he does really well. But those are, I'm talking about the non-technical parts of demo. But see, as I mentioned, demo goes from the beginning to the end. Typically what happens is you'll demo out the flooring, you'll demo out the interior doors. If you're going to do a full renovation, let's say, you're going to demo out the flooring, the tile, you're going to get rid of the cabinets, the mirrors, the towel racks, all those kind of fixtures. That's fine. Those are going to go. Now, let's go one step further, because anytime I do a kitchen, I will typically demo down to the studs, which means the sheetrock's coming off. And as I explained in a previous episode, it's because I always put cabinet blocking in. And so those cabinet blocks I center them at 36, 54, and 96 inches, because that's typically where my cabinets are going to go. I don't want my cabinets screwed into studs. I want them screwed into solid framing, and that's why I put those in there. So I pull that out. So let's say you say, well, I'll do that. I'll take that sheetrock out. My demo guy removes every screw. He removes any extra material that's hanging out there. If I've got dead wood that's in the way, he will remove that. Any nails that are sticking out, any old material that's up on top. When he pulls the ceiling out, which sometimes happens, that rock wool or that blown-in insulation is going to come down on the ground. He will remove all of that, including all the debris and everything else. He will broom clean it, sweep it up where there's no dust at all, and then put that in the dumpster. That's one phase. In fact, I don't know of a single client that has ever done the demo, and I'm talking about the aesthetic demo, to the level that I would have, that one of my guys would do it, which means that I have to bring one of my guys in to finish it up, either pull all the rest of the screws out or clean it up or whatever it may be. The other thing that my demo crew does is my demo crew masks off the job. They mask it off. They put the plastic up. They put the cardboard down. If we are going to maintain the floor, what am I trying to say? They make sure that the working area is separate from the living area, and they make sure that we contain that debris and that dust and that mess to a small area, so that we don't have to go through and vacuum out all the vents. And that's one thing too. Make sure if you're going to do something like that, turn your AC off. Turn your AC and heater off. You don't want that air handler sucking that up. Even though you've got a filter, dust is still going to get through, and it's going to be distributed through your house. So that's the demo. The paint is the second one. Most people want to paint because they don't understand the technical aspects of it. And I'm a painter amongst many other things that I do. And for instance, when I caulk a joint, When I caulk a joint, you cannot see caulk outside of that joint. It is only between the two pieces of material that I'm sealing. I don't take a finger in a corner and just wipe it down. I don't take a rag and just wipe it where you've got this semicircle of caulk in the corner. It has to be gone. There cannot be any surplus caulk on the material at all. Whenever I have nail holes, I don't caulk them. I putty them. I use Crawford's, which is my favorite. It comes from Sherwin-Williams. I have 2 cans with me anytime I have a job. That's what I do. And finally, I make sure that my tape float texture guys, they double skim, they do this, they do that. There are a lot of things that are going to be done, but let's say on the painting, the sheetrock has already been installed and it's been tape floated and it's been textured. Well, you have to make sure that you primer that. And I'm not talking about primer and paint. Anyway, I don't want to go through all the details of it, but what I'm saying is this. So when somebody wants to do, a client wants to do the demo or the paint work because they're trying to save some money, they're not going to do it to the level I want them to do it. Okay. And I had a client actually was a painter, and he may have been the exception. But the reason I say this is because as your builder, as your general contractor, my job is to make sure that the final product that you receive is the best. I've said it before. I've got 2 grades in this business. I've got A and I've got F, and I don't do F. I've got a giant non-vendor list of trades and material providers who have tried to give me below A, and they don't work for me anymore. And so it's incumbent upon me to make sure that my client receives that maximum benefit and make sure that they get that A level no matter what. Now, there are things that the client can do. I had one that wanted stained glass, and the couple, they did stained glass, and they wanted stained glass in some transit windows inside the house, and it was beautiful. They had some niches they wanted done this way, and that's what they did, and we worked together on that. And I had my trim guy work with them so that we could get that mounted. So their work and their creativity is applied to this job. But it's important, and I'm giving you the first reason. It's important that we get the quality, and if the client does not have the skill set that my trades do, it's going to slow my job down because I'm going to have somebody else come in there. It's going to make it more expensive. Now, if your builder, your general contractor has bid the job at a flat rate, and this is the way we're going to do it. Your job is $100,000, and this slows this general contractor down to where they have to bring somebody back in to finish up the job that their guy would have done the first time. It's not going to sit well with them because they're going to lose a little money on that job, and that's one of the things to consider. So. But I have clients that work all the time on the jobs. It really does. And what I do is I work with them, and I say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Client, this is what I can see you doing. This is the level that I'd like to get it done. And is that something you feel comfortable with? Okay. And then there's, of course, time restraint on this too, because I don't have a single client that's never said, when is this job going to be done? When do we go to the next phase? What do you expect to get to by Friday? And you want to make sure as a client that you're not part of that. You're not part of that that slowdown. You want to make sure that you're just as fast. And typically you can be, because you're going to work at night after work. And, I burn the midnight oil, which I don't have a guy that'll do that. I mean, it's rare that I have somebody that'll show up after hours. It's just, I plan my jobs better than that. I manage them better. I don't need guys to work more than 40 hours a week to meet the production schedule that my clients expect from me. But so all that is reasonable. That is a reasonable thing that you can expect your general contractor to be concerned about. And these are all reasonable issues that can be worked out, or as the client, you'll go, you know what, I don't think that I can meet that criteria. And for the good of the project, not for the good of the builder, but for the good of the project, either quality or monetarily, we might just leave this to the pros. Okay, well, I don't think that's what Nolan was asking me about. What he was talking to me about was adding his creativity to it. And then that brings us to the second side of it. And this is the side that I'm talking about, the builders that I think it's a little insecurity at times. A lot of times the builder, the general contractor, and the builder, the subcontractor, they do this for a living, and they just will not accept that someone else is going to come in and do their job that they do professionally. And they're going to come in and do it, for any other motivation. Well, I want to be part of it. I want to do this. I want to contribute my work, my name, my work, my word to it, my work. And the problem with that is I think that a lot of times those general contractors and builders are being a little insecure. What we do is technical, but it's not brain surgery. What I do for a living is done worldwide every single day, and there are a whole lot of people that do it. I was on the plane talking to a guy, and he was showing me his building that he was building in his backyard, and there were a lot of mistakes, and I didn't take it upon myself to go, well, you messed this up. I don't do that. He did an adequate job. It's fine. If I were to do that job for him, he probably wouldn't pay me, but he did it himself, and he had such pride in what he got done. And what I told him is, I said, well, it's braced up. It looks good. It's painted well. It looks square. Looks good. Good job and I think this guy, he's a CEO of some kind of company, built this building out there for his kids, and it's safe, it's attractive, and it looks great. It's great for what he's going to use it for. And I think that that's fine. But the builders that are going to give you resistance, and just flat resistance, not even want to work with you, say, look, I got a job to do on this thing. We got a contract. I really would just rather get my guys in here and do this and do that, and just give you that flat, I don't want you involved kind of conversation. Well, that may not be the builder for you, because first and foremost in any builder's mind should be the happiness of their client. And of course, there are limits to that. There are limits to that. I agree with any builder that would say that. But at the same time, this is for some people, a once in a lifetime project. And a lot of times they want to play a little HGTV and be involved with it. I'd like to do some Chip and Joanna Gaines, or I'd like to do some of these flipper people, what they're doing. They go out and they buy it, and these owners help out. I want to be part of that. And you should be allowed to do that, because this is life. This is not just business. This is your project. This is your dream. And you should be able to participate in that dream. And if you have a good builder who is not insecure about what they know, and they're not afraid you're going to find out dirty little secrets about how they do business. One thing that comes to mind that I've seen is you're working side by side with one of their trades, and the trades start talking to you. And the trade says, oh, yeah, well, we did this job before. And, oh, man, city didn't approve this thing for 6 months. These type of things. They may not want you sharing too much information with their trade sharing too much information with you, or they may share with you what they're making on the job. Well, this is how much I'm being paid. Man, I'm paying $10,000 for this, and he's only paying you $350. These are things that, and those are little secrets that the builder may or may not want to know. Now, in the builder's defense, it may be that $10,000 as you perceive it is not going totally for this $350. It might be this $350 plus some other things, some materials and everything else. But the big thing is the builder hides a lot of money. That's part of what they do. They take, the typical remodeler will take the total cost of material, labor, and services, and they will double it. That's how they figure their job. So if you're getting a $250,000 bid on your job, there's a really good possibility that their cost on that job is between $100,000 to $125,000. Now, that seems like a lot, but if you look at it from the other point of view, because that's 100% markup, yes, but it's a 50% margin. And if you take out taxes, cost of doing business, overages, material pricing changes, just fees and overhead and bricks on the ground. Your typical remodeler is going to average between 15 to 20% net profit if they're successful. There are a lot of them that don't do that, and you pray you don't have that guy, because you certainly don't want to bankroll their business and them come to you halfway through the job and go, well, we're not going to be able to get it done for this. We're going to have to go a little higher on your price. You don't want to have that conversation. So anyway, but going back to this other builder, the one that we can justify the first one, okay, because that's going to affect the quality of your build and the cost of your build. But this other one, where it's just kind of ego, I really don't want you to see behind the curtain. I don't want you to see, what Mr. Magico does back here. And I think if you get too far involved in it, you'll do it in the case of some of these subcontractors. They just don't want to mess with it. And of course, the subcontractor will never have your best interest at heart. As I mentioned in another podcast, their goal is to get paid on Friday. That's what they want to do. Okay, I'm painting kind of a negative picture, and I'm always uncomfortable doing that, especially the second half, where you run into a builder that's protecting the secrets of their trade, or maybe their ego, or maybe this they're a little insecure in what they know, and they don't want you to find out that they're relying a whole lot on their subcontractors to do the job. But let's go back to you as a homeowner and how much you can help. One of the things that I count on my clients to do, and I don't even tell them I count on it. This is something that it is so innate and so much a part of the job that I don't even mention it. In fact, it's funny because when they first bring it up to me at the beginning of the job, they go, "Aha, look what I saw." And the reason I say that, and I laugh because it's not an unpleasant conversation. It is not. In fact, I get a lot of grins and I get a lot of chuckles from this, because I'll do it. We'll start a job, and next day I'll go out to the project, and homeowner said, "Well, we were looking around last night, and we saw that y'all missed some nails here. These nails need to be pulled." And I'll tell them, "Well, I appreciate you finding that." And and then once they feel like, "Oh, well, I'm kind of micromanaging it," and I say this. I say, "Well, I really value your input. And the reason for it is because you will spend so much more time on this job than I will. And more than any trade I've got, you will be here when everybody else leaves. Y'all are having your glass of wine, or, after you eat, you're walking through the house and you're looking at what's been done, and you're, checking it out because your dream's being built, and you're really going to look at it with a fine tooth comb because you're interested in every stick of wood, because every stick of wood is part of your dream. And so I really, really rely on your eyes. You're making sure that what I don't see, you're seeing." Now, there's going to be a lot of stuff that my clients aren't going to see, ladies and gentlemen. When they walk through and I get a punch list at the end of a job, and they'll say, "Okay, well, we want this done. I want that done. I want this. I want that." Those are not the things that I find on my punch list. The things that I find on my punch list, the owner will never see. If they're a builder or an engineer, they might. And if it's engineering, by the way, we hope it's not on the punch list. But if they're not a builder or a painter or a plumber or trim, a trim expert, they may not see these things, but I do. And that's when I talk to my trades. I remember one time I got a punch out list from a client and looked at it and he goes, "Well, this is what I see needs to be done." And some of it was like picking up a piece of trash off the floor in the living room. It's okay. Of course we're going to do that because I make ready every job. But the things they didn't miss is I felt like that the paint was a little wispy on one of the walls. You couldn't really see it because the way the sun shines on it and the shade, you couldn't see it. If you put a flashlight on it, maybe you could see it. But I saw that. I saw that there was a piece of trim that I didn't feel like was nailed properly. I didn't feel like the reveal was done right on one of the doors that was hung. And so these are the things that we work on. I had to go in there and adjust the frame on that one to make sure that door would work and look the way I wanted it to. But anyway, those are the things that I count on with my clients. And so if you talk to your builder and you say, "Look, we really want to get involved with this. We want to be part of the build. I've got the stained windows in this case, or I've got these particular items. These are family heirlooms, and I want them included, and I don't really trust anybody else to do that. Would you allow me to do that?" Well, the builder must be open to that, because it tells me that is identifying an area which is important and of interest to my client, and my job is to make them happy. My job is to make sure that this is a great experience for them. And there's so much strife in remodeling. There's so much against you as a builder. Anytime you have that moment to try to bring some happiness to your client and let them feel like they're contributing, and plus they'll have some empathy. They'll say, "Man, this was difficult for me too." So I can see with so many moving parts where we might have some more issues come up, and I'm going to be a little more understanding about that. This is the client saying that. So anyway, I don't want to belabor this much more, and Nolan, I hope I answered your question more than I did in the email, but this comes down to making sure you have the right builder. Make sure you have the right remodeling general contractor who cares and listens and is secure enough in what they know and how they do business, and have the best trades and open policy, so that I don't care what my trades discuss with you. I'd rather you not talk to him while he's working, because I need to have him get done with what he's doing. But there's nothing that we're hiding. There are no secrets between us. And it's important that you have that builder that does that, because that clean slate, that honesty, that's going to make your life a whole lot easier when you come to him and say, "Hey, would you mind if I contribute to this?" And let's say that you want to do demo. Say that's what you want. I want to do some demo and save some money. Well, tell that builder up front. Say, "Look, I'd like to do the demo on this thing." And if the builder's worth their salt, they should say this: "Okay, I'm going to give you the parameters of what my demo contractor is required to do for the money. And by the way, demo is typically the cheapest thing that's done. So you don't save a whole lot of money by doing a demo, and it's very precise. It's very exacting. So it's kind of a pain for what you're saving compared to the amount of work you've got to do. But anyway, you need to have a builder that's willing to talk to you about that and say, okay, well, these are the parameters. This is what, what my demo crew typically does. Is that what you envisioned as the demo for what you're doing? Is that, you want to do the painting? Okay, well, this is typically what I expect from my paint contractor to do. This is what it takes them to do it. So are you comfortable with that? And if your builder is asking you these questions, it means they're willing to work with you. They're not saying, no, like a mechanic shop. Stay out of my garage. We charge extra if you want to watch. You don't want to have that. So anyway, just to wrap up, I think that there is a place for the DIYers amongst the professionals, and the typical client is a lot more knowledgeable now. They're a lot more sophisticated than they used to be, and you're gonna see things that a customer 30 years ago wouldn't see, just because there's so much access to information, and there's all this stuff is on TV and you see it. So, I mean, nobody should treat you like you're adult and that you don't know anything and that you have no business being on your own construction site. They shouldn't do that. And if they have a reason that they don't want you to do that part of the work, they better be able to justify it, either by saying it's a quality issue that we need to be concerned about because I don't want it to affect the quality of your job, or this could drive up some costs because I'm going to have somebody come in behind you and fix these things up, or do this or do that. And those are the two things that you really need to watch for. I really appreciate y'all, and I hope that this was beneficial. And keep those emails coming. Love to answer them. Love to hear from you. Have a great one.